All right. So today we are going to be talking about DBQs and getting ready for taking that DBQ test at the end of this unit, and also the DBQ test in May when you're doing your IB testing. So we're just going to go over some overview, some question styles, and some question tips, and then we're going to get a chance to practice questions. So what are document-based questions and why are they important to us? They're important to you because your paper 1 on your IB exam is a document-based question test. Imagine that. So to practice, we're going to be looking at document-based question tests over the next 3 units and working up to a full IB testing style DBQ. We know already that the topic of our paper 1 test is going to be the move to global war. What you don't know is if the case study IB selects is either going to be German and Italian aggression in the interwar years or Japanese aggression in the interwar years. So we're going to be talking about both of those in the upcoming units and practicing looking at DBQ documents and tests in both of those units. We know that our DBQ test is going to consist of 4 questions and 5 documents. So you've got 5 documents to use as you answer those 4 questions. Within those 5 documents, you will always have one document that is an image. It might be a map, it might be a political cartoon, it might be a chart, it might be a table, and it's your job to decipher that image and answer a question based on it. The remaining 4 documents could be anything from primary sources to secondary sources. You might be looking at an excerpt from a speech. It might be a historian's conclusion to his argument in a textbook. It might be military orders, dispatches to a general, a whole variety of things. None of the excerpts are very long, so you're able to read them in the time allotted, but they're usually very diverse in what they're representing. So you have your 5 documents, your 4 questions, and when you come in to sit down for this paper 1 test, you're going to be given 5 minutes at the start to read over the documents. So you have 5 minutes to look at those documents, mark them up, give them a quick skim so you know what the content of each document is. You also get a chance to think about OPCVL right away. What's the origin of this source? When was it written? Why was it written? What's the purpose? So you get 5 minutes right at the start of the exam to do that. Once those 5 minutes are over, you'll be able to open the test booklet and you'll be given 60 minutes to answer the remaining or the 4 questions. It seems like 60 minutes for 4 questions is a lot of time, but when you actually get into it, what this test is requiring you to do is some pretty complicated stuff. So those 60 minutes are going to fly by. So what we're going to be looking at over the next couple days in our unit is how are you able to budget your time to effectively answer all 4 questions within 60 minutes. For those of you taking the IB exam, this test is worth about 20% of your total IB grade, and it's out of 24 points. But that doesn't matter for us right now, so we will move on. What types of questions will you encounter as you sit down to take this paper 1 test? Well, question 1A and 1B are going to be very literal questions. Did you understand what you just read? Did you understand what this image was trying to tell you? Very, very basic, simple things. These questions are worth the fewest amount of points, and they're also the questions you should take the least amount of time on. Question 2 is always going to ask you for the origin, purpose, content, value, and limitation of one specific document. Now, IB has already picked what documents they want you to be looking at for each one of these questions. So don't be the person who decides that you like document E better than document C and answer OPCVL for that, because you'll get no points. Question number 3, always going to be a compare and contrast question, having you look at 2 specific documents and comparing what they have to say about a specific point. Question number 4 is always going to be the everything question, where you combine the background knowledge you have about this topic and what the documents are telling you to craft a mini essay that answers a fairly complicated question. A good way to think of this is that the OPCVL question, the compare contrast question, the literal question, are all kind of ramping you up to be able to answer that question number 4, the biggie. So we're going to break down these questions a little bit more, and we're going to look specifically at questions 1A and 1B today. So questions 1A and 1B we said were the literal questions, the very simple, straightforward questions. For question 1A, you should spend about 5 minutes of your 60 minutes answering this question. 5 minutes is a maximum. If you can do it in less time, great. You shouldn't skimp much below 3 minutes though. So shoot for that 3 to 5 minute range. Question 1A is going to be worth 3 points out of your total 24. These are 3 easy points to get. So don't skip this question, don't waste time, don't, give it your all. The question is going to be very literal. Did you understand what you just read? So it'll be something like, according to document A, what are the reasons why the 13 days crisis occurred? And document A will very specifically say a couple reasons why the 13 days crisis occurred. You should be answering in complete sentences, obviously. This is a test. You should use about 3 to 5 complete sentences. Question 1B is another 5 minutes max question. It's worth only 2 points. And this one is always going to be based on that image I said you'd have. So it's going to be a literal question in reference to that image document. Again, you should try to answer in about 3 to 5 complete sentences. And you should actually talk about what you see in the picture. The question is going to be something like, what is the message conveyed by this political cartoon, or what is the image, what is the graph telling you about what happens to the population of Jews in Germany during the 1930s? You need to actually talk about what's in the political cartoon, or what numbers you see on the graph, what trends you see. You can't just say the population declined without making a reference to how you got that information. All right, so now we've got an overview of question 1A and 1B. Let's practice. So a question 1A sample, you might see something like this. According to the following excerpt, what are the reasons why Wilson faced a difficult time getting Congress to agree to the Treaty of Versailles and the League of Nations? So you know right away that what you're looking for is reasons why Wilson is having difficulty. So what is the Congress objecting to within the Treaty of Versailles? What has he done that's made him unpopular with Congress? You're looking for things like that. So in your Google form, there will be a spot for you to read over this following excerpt and answer these questions. So we have that lovely excerpt. As you can see, it's not a very long excerpt. It's pretty short, pretty straightforward. So this one should be a fairly easy question to answer. Next up, let's look at our question 1B sample. So this one is based on the image we said. So we've got a question, what is the message conveyed by source B? So immediately what you should do is look at this source B and try to pull out elements of the picture that you recognize. Who is getting married in this image? Who's busting through the window? Try to read what each of the little captions on the people say. And then use that information to build your overall answer. What is the message conveyed by source B? So there'll be a spot on your Google form for you to provide an answer to that question. What is the message conveyed by source B? And that will conclude our introduction to DBQ questions. In following units, following days, we will be looking at questions 2, 3, and 4 separately. But this was a nice start to questions 1A and 1B and the overall DBQ style.